reading like I am. Let's just see. Yeah, it's flagging as streaming. Okay. Thankfully, Kerbal Space Program has pause. And what I was saying, before I was rudely interrupted, I'll turn the volume down just a little bit while I'm doing this. And get chat back. There we go. As I was saying before, I was rudely interrupted. Basically, just a flight test of this jet as it runs out of fuel. That is what I'm looking for. I want to make sure it doesn't get unstable when the fuel weight is down. So I've simulated the weight of the other crew cabin with the drone core and everything else, and locked fuel capacity. So that should be the real weight. And pretty soon I need to be starting my turn. I want to make sure that that... Ooh, okay. Has a lot of pitch control, which is good for a glider. So no complaints about that, but... Go ahead and line ourselves up with the runway. Let's go to the map. Let's set Dunson's Triumph as target. This will now be our approach vector. An engine start, stop and restart. Doesn't mess with us. Let's burn through some monoprop just to get rid of it. Just to make sure it doesn't throw off our weight any. Monoprop is our emergency fuel on this craft. Okay. Still seems fairly stable. Lead a lot of speed very easily on this if I want to. This looks up a little better with the runway. We do slow down quite fast with this. That's my primary concern. Yeah, this actually doesn't do so bad. Pretty controllable. As long as I don't fly it like a crazy person. Make sure I'm bleeding off speed and altitude. put down our gear. Coming in straight for the runway. So as we get really close, I'm going to pull up. I'm going to try to bleed off a little bit of speed. Which thankfully, again, in this craft, seems pretty easy to do. Its stall capability is pretty good. I don't stall it too much. But that did bring down our speed significantly. Not a lot of runway left. That's cool to test too. Okay. Nice! Let's roll just a little closer to the spaceplane hangar just to brag. Taxiing. Let's taxi over to the spaceplane hangar. So yeah, very potentially this should be a good kind of shuttle launch spaceplane. There's the bragging points for you right there. Just rolled right up to the hangar. Alright. So now, to build something to launch this with. So to the vehicle assembly building. Open the XJ4. Again, we're going to do the drone version. And we need this up to 10.03 tons, like we did last time. This time, though, I'm going to do all that extra weight in the form of regular liquid fuel, if I can. Don't necessarily need the extra oxidizer. That's great. Let's make it just a little overweight. Like me, just a little overweight. Alright. Now, launching this puppy. This time I didn't do any, like, math or actual figuring. It's just seat of my pants. We're gonna just try and make this happen. Let's do one of those adapters. Let's do some of these tanks. Let's see, this one and then this one. And I'm going to use the skiff engine, the trimmed version, as our second stage engine. And then we're going to use the Bobcat for the first stage. pretty. Okay. So similar to our K3 series for the first stage, just lengthened a little bit, and a little bit of a change up that we're not using the smaller tanks for the second stage. It's all the larger tanks, but you know, different is good sometimes. Then we want a pair of solid rocket boosters. This time we'll use the larger solid rocket boosters. The hammers, or thumpers, is what I mean. There we go. Neighbors. Some struts, just to hold everything steady. And some aerodynamic cones. Okay. That might do us. We need, probably because of the extra aerodynamic resistance, I'm sure we need some large fins at the bottom. So let's check that out. Center of mass, center of... Okay, yep, that's going to be very tippy. It's going to be very, very tippy. So let's, big old tail fins. Wow, that's not even going to be nearly enough, huh? That could be a problem. That could be a real challenge. I just put full on swept wings, crazy level. Not even close. I feel like that might be a little bit glitched though. Like that would just be extreme, and I don't see why that wouldn't do the trick. Anyway. Do something like that. Okay, that should be obscenely over the top tail fins. It's a good thing this is a drone flight. Let's make sure nobody ends up on board this thing. Dunson's our new stowaway. Is there an option to just default? That might be Stu. Alright, let's see. I was hoping there was a way to like default to not put crew in these things. No more Jeb repeats. I mean, specifically no more Jeb, but you know, no more Jeb repeats. So let's see. Okay. Alright. This should probably do. So the main engines, the boosters, the two towers, all on the first hit. Then boosters separate. Second stage separates off and then separately fires. The two drogue chutes will separate with the, or activate with the separation of the boosters, so it drags them away from the aircraft, or the rocket in the aircraft up top. Okay, then that'll separate. That'll activate the main space engine. The monoprop engines will be there as emergency. And then we'll have the jet engines and then parachutes. I will change the abort sequence. Okay, abort will be to shut down all engines. Activate the shuttle's engine. Decouple the node and activate these as well. And, hell, activate these. So that should, in an emergency, separate us and not at least destroy the aircraft if this just completely fails. I feel like this is going to be underpowered. But, just try it. Shouldn't be that expensive a rocket if all goes completely to shit. As long as we save the plane. But hopefully everything goes well. You never know. The amount of wobbling is suggesting otherwise. So let's let's do some auto strutting. Okay. Give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen? And again, the idea is to man rate this, or Kerman rate this. This might just be a horrendous idea, especially as we hit higher aerodynamic forces at this point, as the center of lift is slightly above the center of mass on this craft. Okay, booster separation looks good. 10,000 feet, so we can start nosing over, and that's where we lose control. Okay. Let's try and recover a little bit. So yeah, that is challenging to control, to say the least. All right. Yeah. Alright. So that did indeed go pretty bad. Probably what I'll want to do is go for something more like a asymmetric shuttle launch, which will be a lot harder to design. Whoop, don't stall. Don't stall. There we go. Again, let's do some crazy maneuvers. So, let's throttle up just a little bit for the turn. there goes the rocket. I was looking right at KSC, so it looks like it didn't smash there. That's a good sign. Just 2/3 of the cost of that launch was just the plane, so hoping I get this back in one piece. Down, we need to lose a lot of altitude. And this turn should help us bleed off a little bit of speed. Just a little bit of throttle to help us with that. Well, at least that was a good test of the abort system. If this had been a manned flight, we would be seemingly able to return all our crewmen back to KSC unharmed, despite the failure. I think probably a longer first stage might also be a consideration in terms of the boosters. Maybe like kickbacks or something. But then that would raise our center of lift, or center of aerodynamic resistance, which was the main stability issue in the first place. Too bad. Not as successful as I'd hoped, for sure. But definitely qualifying the rocket, or the jet, if not the rocket. The only thing I'm still worried about is whether this thing will handle a re-entry. We're just a little off the runway here. That's fine, we can make it. Get off some speed. Goes down and brakes. Beautiful. Well, at least we didn't lose the aircraft. Well, that was interesting. What else could I try and do here? Obviously those ridiculous fins are not sufficient still. Can't think of a good way to stabilize this. Yeah, that might do. This has... It has more than that. Okay. Yeah, even like a ton of these would not do it. These have a ton. Of surface area. And that doesn't move it at all. They have to be out, I guess. Wow. Yeah, just the obscene amount of lift on that is going to make that very difficult to do in a style like this. Okay, let's riddle this another way. Well, if I'm doing asymmetric... I would need... I would actually need the tank itself to be holding the engines. Which I'm not saying is a problem right now. I'm not saying that's a deal breaker. But it will make it a challenge. Something like that. Okay. Now the trick with an asymmetric launch like this is your center of thrust. Oh, that's right, I need an engine on this one. Center of thrust will be kind of offset to the center of gravity. Which actually, this looks kind of good right now. I'll have to see how it moves it with zero thrust from these. Okay, because those are not going to be active. What I would probably do is throw a pair of high gimbaling engines on mirror symmetry. Like that. Yeah, that lines us up pretty good, I think. And then we would have a fuel line to make sure we stay at full fuel. No, don't want that. So we do like those. Actually looks pretty solid. The difference is when this starts getting spent, right? It'll start to push our center of mass here, and then our thrust will be spinning us around our center. So we really need some serious gimbal, which I don't think we have at this point. I don't think that would anywhere near do it. I think the thuds, which have a much higher thrust, do have still some pretty decent gimbal. But yeah, even then, that's not going to do us at all. That would be the main challenge. Which, and if we activated this engine, would almost do it. So when we get to critical fuel levels, we'd activate that engine. We could almost stage into this. Oops. Get rid of those for a second. We still have a monoprop reserve without those engines specifically. And then when this was fully fueled, we'd want these to be, or this to be off. We want these to be off. And we'd want this to be off. No, we wouldn't want that to be off. So we turn that off and this on. Yes, so those would stay on. Then as we lowered, we'd activate those two engines. Okay. This is seeming not ridiculously impossible. Pair of kickbacks. I'm now replicating my least favorite launch vehicle of all time. Good job, Steve. Radial's kind of weird there. Do those one at a time then. Parachutes to rip these away from the craft so they don't totally F with it. Yeah, this is different from my particular brand of madness that we normally see here on the channel. So we want these two engines on at launch. We want the boosters on at launch. We want the main engine on at launch. Then, as we start to tip back, we'll want that engine. Then we'll want this engine. Then we'll want to ditch the fuel tank. Then I'll have to add some. I'll have to sabotage some kind of action group. I'm not sure where we're gonna need to ditch these kickbacks, though, is the only thing. So probably right after this one, before this one, is where I'll try and stage that out. The parachutes. Alright, then that goes, that separates. We can turn those on later, we can turn those on in an emergency. Okay. Maybe not absolutely horrible. We'd want the towers on the back, because this is actually going to rip us away from the towers. And it also means that when we do that, then we want to launch backwards. Okay. Alright. Actions. Okay, for the purposes of this test, let's have the RCS button shut down these Cub engines. So I'll cheat a little bit on that. And then the abort sequence is now absolutely suicidal. We now don't want to activate our engines. We do want to decouple here. We want to do a shutdown on this engine. Can't do anything about the boosters. And we want to activate then the Cubs. This is a bad idea. He says, and then launches. This is an absolutely terrible idea. This is going to end badly. It's not, I don't think that's a joke. I think it's very serious that this is about to go very poorly. Thankfully, no Kerman are on board, so at least they paid attention that time and no one tried to stow aboard, because they would most likely die. Okay. All right. Okay. Not totally horrible so far. Now that will change when these run out of fuel, probably. Such a horrible idea. Shit. Didn't mean to do that. Okay. That's cool. We're okay. We're fine. We're actually, like, fine. Not only that, we're insanely accurately replicating the space shuttle launch here. Holy crap. Okay, activate. Ah. Made the thrust limiters down. Okay. That's cool. We're okay. We're fine. We're Gucci. Let's just go and do this once more. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Okay. Okie doke. We're doing some silliness. Why I hit the stage button there, I do not know. This might actually warrant a retest. So what I am going to do, I'm going to see if I can just get us... okay. Like that. We're going to shut down the Cubs. We're going to shut down that guy. And then we're going to lock back on target, throttle back up, because I want to test a few more things on this plane today. We are already on descent, so I mean there's not so much we're going to be able to really do here, but yeah, screw it. Track prograde. Should probably kill the engines, actually. But I'm just worried about if we're going to even get any kind of re-entry test out of this. Okay, a little bit. Little bit of re-entry heating. Like, super modest amount. We lost radio control. How did we lose radio control? Oh. Got it. Understand. Ionized gas. We have a beautifully controlled network, but we do not have a way around ionized gas. We are not going to regain radio contact for just a minute. There it is. Okay. Now the plane wants to do its own thing. It's trying to follow prograde. We're just going to nail that right quick. Okay. You're okay. You're okay, little plane. Good. Good, 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 good. Okay. Re-entry went smooth. Re-entry went real smooth. Now, let's okay. Oh, see, with now the extra engines, we seem to have a slight stability problem. That's fine. Just gonna shut down this real quick. Throttle up. Okay. All right. Turn flight assist back on. Stability assist, that is. Just a little bit of altitude, a little bit of speed. Which again, this is really built for gliding, so it's not going to do great at this. So let's just give it a nice boost. Again, added weight is not helping on the stability. So let's activate this one as well. Okay. Alright, oxidizer. Well, it does not appear that this thing will be making it back today. Yeah, and for some reason it's just not pitching down at all, which is a real problem. So, time for the parachutes, I guess. So it's down to 1,000 meters. So I need some kind of counterweight. Although if I had left this engine activated, I think that part of it would have been fine. Now, if I hadn't left those at 0 thrust limited, that actually could have gone to orbit by the looks of it. This is a pretty heavy craft for these parachutes, so it's actually not looking great right now. There we go. Goes down just a little more. Come on, engines. Well, all right, so we'll have some pieces to recover at least. Well, that's kind of a back to the drawing board kind of situation, ain't it? Are there pieces to recover, maybe? Yep, still some pieces there. Okay. Yep. Cover. Recover. 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 And go. Okay. So got some of our money back. Actually, just kind of, I'm getting teased here. That went very close to being good. Just some tweaking. the overall craft would do it. So I gotta remember the positioning here is very important. But I just want to check now where aerodynamic overlay, center of thrust, center of mass. It's not really that changed. But we do need to somehow push these wings back even further if we do this. So let's see if I can't do that. Just move those a little bit back still. Oops. Oh, those are at a weird angle. Let's correct that. Okay, that could help with the flight stability. Having these at actual thrust limiting is, you know, kind of a good notion as well. And again, I want to make sure I'm putting this in exactly the right place. Right there. I think this is go for a relaunch here. More or less, aside from this oddness right here. Let's go and fix that. There we go. So once more, main engines fire. Cub engines fire. Before the boosters separate this time, we activate that engine. Boosters separate. Towers down here. Then we activate this engine. Eventually we need to cut that away. Okay, just one more test. Forgot to put more parachutes on. Okay, fine. Fine. Don't care. Don't care. We're making it to space this time. No RCS. It's just fine without RCS. Stability this time. Now, as those start to kick off, yep, fire that to keep us stable. Beautiful. Those now separate. We start to roll onto our back. As we do our burn for prograde. gimbal do the work. This is borderline stupid. Why is this working? I'm actually angry a little bit that this is working right now. Alright, track prograde. Oh my god. This should not be as practical as this is right now. How much do I actually need to get into an actual orbit here? I don't need a crazy high orbit like the one we have, but just an orbit will do. This is just silly. According to this, we'll make it to orbit. What have I done? Is this really going to become a practical thing? I don't want this to be a practical thing. It stresses me out the whole way. This is full on ridiculous. I don't know what to say anymore. How much fuel do we actually have on this? Okay, a fair amount. So of course it's pumping fuel in here, so we got full fuel on this guy. Folks, don't do this at home. If you're playing Kerbal Space Program, just don't. Just do everyone a favor and just don't. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to shut down the Cubs. I'm going to shut down this maybe. Activate this. And let's try that configuration. Burn time's 27 seconds. So when we are, and I can't believe this, when we are 13 seconds to burn, I will start throttling up for our orbital burn. I just frankly don't believe this. Nope. We need to activate this again. That's why I did a slow throttle up. Here we go. To reactivate the Cubs. It's a bad idea to deactivate the Cubs. There you go. Right before we run out of fuel on this tank, I'm going to drop it. Or right before we get to orbit, I guess. So I don't leave space junk. Now I can get rid of this. Now I can get rid of the Cubs. And we can just do a little more burn. Nice and easy. And this stupid craft is in orbit. Why is this in orbit right now? I'm legitimately angry that this went so smoothly. I didn't want an asymmetric launch vehicle. I didn't want this. Not like this. So now, I'm just going to do some simple maneuvers with RCS and check how my RCS configuration is in terms of stability. I want to look for wobble on the maneuver node here as I attempt to do these maneuvers. I want to make sure I'm getting minimal. Looks like it's fairly balanced. You gotta be kidding me. What just happened there? Oh, that's right. RCS was what I was supposed to use to disable that guy. This might be the first time on the channel that I'm just completely speechless. I'm speechless right now. Why did this work? Also, crap. This thing did not fully deorbit. Did it? Oh no, it'll deorbit. It's fine. Okay, cool. It does fall into the atmosphere. Okay, that makes me feel a little better. So in other words, everything went completely according to plan. And, WTF. Just speechless. Speechless. Everything's intact. Why? Why even is this working? Asymmetric launch vehicle. Like, if I was in my right mind, I would be bragging right now and being like, see, look at this great thing I can do, but I'm really just angry. So I guess I will at least time warp back to KSC and attempt to make a landing at KSC from orbit. Because why not? Everything else is going perfect. But this is the kind of thing that everything can go so perfect, and I just feel like it's specifically because when I try this with actual Kerman, they're gonna die. All of them. So I need to check and make sure I actually have enough fuel to deorbit where I want to deorbit. I'm going to aim dead on to the Space Center because I know aerodynamic resistance is going to slow me down, but then I have jet engines to try and make a corrected landing. So I'm going to let us come up on that. I have apparently plenty of fuel to do this exact burn. A little bit of a correction there that I made specifically to deal with the rotation of Kerbin. "14-second burn coming up, so I'll start at 7 seconds to..." And we'll see how this ugly thing flies. Doesn't really seem to have much of a problem staying on target. Okay, now aim prograde. Right side up, please. Thank you. And now it's going to be the re-entry. Now again, I am going to lose contact with it for a brief period of time while it goes through the atmosphere and gets ionized in the atmosphere. Oh, this thing is stupid. I'm just so upset that this is working. Let's get just a little further along. There you go. Yourself back prograde. Now, re-entry might be completely destructive. I don't know. I don't know how these parts all handle re-entry. I did put some big radiators on the back. They're supposed to try and bleed heat, but they're pretty far back. So, I don't know if that works. It could just be a total crapshoot. Could just Columbia on us. Too soon? Yeah, we're getting some overheating, that's for sure. Which part is overheating? Yeah, significant amounts of overheating, and I have no control to try and pitch it either. So, looks like this is not able to survive re-entry. Just gonna Columbia on us. Okay. Well, up to that point was going well. KSC's right there. Okay. Now I know that's not viable. I'm actually like happy that just happened. Now it was a pretty aggressive re-entry. I probably could have not had so aggressive re-entry here, but yeah. I am actually speechless. Well, now let's do something useful. Now that I've completely stunned myself. NASA get wrecked. I made a space shuttle in like 15 minutes. Oh, we got some... Oh, that's the tank. Needs to deorbit. We can watch the tank blow up later. The refueler. We're gonna fly the refueler. My God. Oh, why did I not update the core on this thing? That's frustrating. How would I do such a thing? Okay. Anyway. There's a lot of stuff going on. So let's plan a rendezvous here. Absolute bare minimum amount of thrust version. Should be right there, a little less. Okay. 39-second burn. Now, hopefully this should get us pretty close to our fuel requirements on the Valentina Kerman Memorial Space Station. Now, one thing that did dawn on me with that launch that would be bad for re-entry is I didn't actually shield that probe core at all, but everything else was heating up, so I think I'm comfortable saying that a full speed re-entry like that is just not feasible with those parts. Alright, 39-second burn. So we're waiting for 19 seconds. 19 seconds, I'll start burning pro grade. Ah, kind of overburned on that. Kind of a lot. That's fine. We got our parry absent 5 hours. Okie dokie. We can check on something else in the meantime since we have 5 hours. Our lovely relay network, really helping us out. Never did rename these, did I? It's kind of mean of me not to rename them. Hello, hello. So, relay network, unnamed. That's a crappy thing of me to do. But let's change over to the mid-sat. Just see if I can get any more use out of that right now. Don't need landing sites. Don't need those. Don't need those. That's all clutter. 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 Eve probe. Nope. Where is our Minmus probe? Did we lose the Minmus probe at some point that I wasn't aware of? That's concerning. Don't remember anything happening to it. Huh. I'm gonna have to go back and watch a few things and try and figure out what on earth happened to our our Minmus satellite. I don't know what happened to it. Forever lost in space. I wonder if I just got it a little too close to Minmus and it hit something. It was scooting pretty low to the surface. Well, okay. Munsat 1. Let's check that guy out. That's our other science gatherer. It's still got a while till it comes around. So what do we do in the meantime? Well, I've got the satellite contract for Kerbin. So let's do that. So they want fairly high apogee. All they care about is that it has an antenna, generates power, and reaches the designated orbit. That's kind of easy. What about the Mun satellite? Now that one would be a long wait too, wouldn't it? So let's... And we still have to build an orbital station around Kerbin. That sounds like more fun. Let's start a space station. Why not? Now, if I can limit this to 15 tons... then it's going to be a go. And I won't have to even create a new launch vehicle. So... we do need a large crew capacity for the station. It actually needs 12 Kerbals total. So I'm going to start with this. At least we'll get 4 Kerbals this way. And we need an engine plate. And I can put a 4+1. Center tank. That way we can have a docking node directly at the back. Saves on space for a separator as well. Then engines, we can throw a couple spark engines on. And I can move those a little bit. They've got enough room. It's a little too much. That and give this whole plate a slight rotation. There we go. That'll work. Kind of just an exploded version of, much larger version of our core for our Valentina Kerman station. So now, couple things I need. Let's start. We do need some fuel. Nice big fuel adapter. It's gonna bring the weight way up, but that's fine for the moment. Nah, it's gonna bring us already to a weight limit. So let's think for a second. I could probably do something else. A 2.5 shell now. So I could put a lot of different electronics and our core and everything else here. That on. Actually, let's change that out to something a little sturdier. Let's do a structural fuselage. Oh, that's kind of big, isn't it? Is that hollow? It is hollow. I like that then. That's a plus. Move that out of the way. Very cool. All right. It's hollow, but we can't place anything in it. That stinks. What's the point of it then? Oh, no, I don't like the structural fuselage anymore. Let's get rid of that. Let's have something to put this in. that on. Yeah, that looks pretty decent. Let's put a bunch of RCS in here. Your RCS storage, since we don't have another way to put RCS fuel in. And we're going to need some electricity for a core module for sure, so put some of these on. Let's change these up a little bit. That's better. That's a good use of the space. And let's put that there. Much lighter as well. Just gonna build this to be a non-opening fairing. Turn off the staging. So that's a permanent fairing, basically. Just to protect all the vitals there. And then we want a smaller piece here. And that'll finally go to our service bay. Throw that on the service bay. A little extra fuel. That actually kind of sticks out. That's weird. Alright, and let's get rid of that. And let's do like an Oscar B tank or something. Just something so this is at least whole. So, in theory, in real life, you could set it up that a Kerman can go through there. Let's see. Ooh, better idea. Inline stabilizer. Yeah, that's even worse. Okay. Super don't like that. We really do need a stabilizer, though. Do I stretch this up, maybe? I'll think about this. For the moment, I'll put this tiny one on. Put some basic science stuff on this. Just to say I did it. Some smaller batteries as backup. Never have too many batteries on a space station. Better. Okay, now docking nodes. We're going to use only the newer ones. The full size. Good. We want some solar panels. That's why we actually trim this down to a smaller size. I'm actually kind of basing this off the Salyut stations the Russians had. Those are pretty successful. One of them is now, or one of the derivatives of it is now actually the base of the International Space Station, so it can't be too bad, right? So we got the smallest bit is the docking node adapter, so that's where everything will go. Again, then goes much further up in size just to get it near full size, but still trimmed down a little bit so we make room for big solar panels. Which actually, I'm going to tilt this on its axis real quick. Make that a little easier to put stuff on. Actually, let's just make sure I can redeploy them. Make sure they don't hit each other. If they're both open and facing the same direction. Rebuild the fairing, because that broke somehow. Okay. Cool. Solar panels. I do have a little bit of weight left, so let's go ahead and put that on, after all. And then we actually need the RCS thrusters. So let's do... four there. Four there. Where's our center of mass? Somewhere between the two. Okay, that's good. Put a couple of these right here just to help with stability. I think this is ready. Throw a fairing over it and off it goes. This will be the first piece of the Jebediah Kerman Memorial Space Station. We're going to need a T18 decoupler. I'm going to add some struts here for support. Ooh. And a big problem here. I don't think that this plate lets you actually transfer fuel. I'm not sure about that. Let's just do it super cheaty. And if need be, we'll just transfer fuel in there. That should work. I'm gonna reroute this. So the core is the main piece. I'm forgetting comms. That's what I'm forgetting. Let's not forget comms. We don't need anything particularly fancy for this. I don't know why that's offset. Just put one of these down the middle. All right. Fairing. It's a little much. I don't need to go that crazy with it. There we go. we need the K-15 rocket. We basically have a Russian Salyut on top of a strangely modified Soyuz. That uses American J2 engines for some reason. Alright. Now just a staging check. Make sure all our engines are in the right place. Make sure these separate properly. Drop the fairing after we go to these. And then we'll eventually separate the station, power that on. Oh. Oh, why does that have a separation? Disable staging. Alright. See if we make orbit. See if we can get the first piece of the space station up. Nice dawn launch. Hopefully the first piece of the Jebediah Kerman Memorial Space Station on its way. I will probably need a larger launcher at one point to start putting the bigger pieces up, because 15 tons at a time isn't so great for a space station. Okay, start our prograde maneuver, which is kind of struggling a little bit, actually. This rocket does have a little bit of a roll to it as I bring it into to a prograde turn pretty consistently. But as soon as those engines burn out, it does just fine. Nice Goreliev cross there. Now, I learned last time I need to shallow out much earlier with this rocket. Yep. Even though we want a typically higher orbit for a station, so it's easier to navigate to it. Just put it up to 130 maybe. Add a maneuver for orbit, which should go completely through our stage that we're currently on in order to accomplish. So I am actually going to drop the fairing now. Cancel the RCS noise, I don't need that. the antenna, deploy some solar panels. So a 54-second burn means I'm going to have to burn, is that 25, 27 seconds to target. And I'm actually going to end up having this aim prograde throughout that, rather than exactly at the maneuver node. Which is going to give us a slightly higher apogee. But overall, won't be the worst thing in the world. Now, the thing I didn't think about is I'm going to have to end up deorbiting this, this next stage. This third stage is going to be more than enough to get us to orbit. I guess I could just, at the very last second, cancel it out, and then get the rest of the way to orbit with the station itself. It's probably more the thing I'm going to do. Just intentionally bail it. So it's good to know that this is slightly overpowered. Okay. Here we go. Just gonna watch for this perigee. I'm gonna, as soon as it gets to an orbit but in the atmosphere, I'm gonna try and ditch this stage. Don't need the maneuver node anymore. We're just gonna follow prograde. Okay, perigee. There we go. Still in the atmosphere. So we're gonna ditch that sucker early. So that burns back up. Oh, this fairing didn't rebuild itself. That sucks. I wanted that to have a nice smooth look to it. I don't know why that offed itself. Well, I did need a lot of Kerbal capacity. Maybe I'll launch a second one of these and let them dock and deorbit one of them or something, just to say I did it. Oh, that is frustrating, though. Ruining the nice, smooth look. I'm just waiting till this comes around. And I think I will. I think I will launch a second one of these just to do it. Coming up to the node. And there we have orbit. Pretty circular orbit at that. There we go. The Jebediah Kerman Memorial Space Station. I need to go back to the to the hangar and see what's going on there. Why that didn't build my fairing. I think because I picked it up and moved it. I think it breaks the fairings when you move it on the pad or in the vehicle assembly building. Yep, it looks like that's what happened. Yep, close the fairing. Fairing not staged. All that's dandy. Then I do want, this time, a couple of these. So this can get us all the way to orbit. Great, okay. So now when this separates, throw those engines on, and it'll deorbit the space junk. I can get that, take us all the way to orbit. Make sure my fairing's there this time. Screw it, let's launch it again. I need a 12 Kerman capacity. That only has 4, so... Our space shuttle isn't going to be ready anytime soon. Based on the way the last one blew up. No RCS this time, because we don't need it. Alright. Repeat launch, why not? Again, right at about 10,000 meters, we're going to start our turn. Goes over as hard as it allows us. Roll though, I gotta figure out what to do about this roll. It's frustrating, to say the least. There we have cross. Now we should be more stable. Just completely horizontal. Completely go for horizontal velocity. And you're ready to drop this fairing as soon as we're really out of the atmosphere. Hey, there we go. This one looks proper. Alright. Got us a high apogee. That's what it's supposed to do. Okay, nice circular orbit. Start tracking prograde. 43-second burn. We need to kill the throttle stage out of that. Okay, once more. Extend the antenna so we stay in range. Solar panels so we keep power. The 43-second burn means that we will be waiting till about 22 seconds away from the maneuver node to start our prograde burn. This time we can take it all the way into orbit, though. Now that we have those separatrons. Possibly even do some rendezvous maneuvering with that stage before we ditch it. It's a possibility. So 22 seconds. 22 seconds before. Actually, I might wait for 20, just because. Just because it is a prograde burn. Yeah, actually, it does look like this will have a decent amount of delta V left in it, so we can probably do our maneuvering with this engine. Yep, there we go, orbit. A tighter orbit than our target, but an orbit. Where is our looking for some interesting stuff. RSAT's on its way back. Where is where's our space station? Am I the only one that doesn't see our lovely space station? Oh, it's considered a pod for some reason. Strange. Left apogee. Might be smart to let this make a few rotations before we attempt to do this rendezvous maneuver. Since we are on a lower orbit, we should catch up to it. Naturally. So I might do that. I might just let it circle around a little bit and catch up. Okay, I think I'm happy with this for a stream. We did some craziness. We've got 2 pieces of a space station up. We've got the fuel for the Valentina Kerman Memorial Station over at the moon on its way. We've got, for some reason, our Minmus probe is dead. Don't know when that happened. And we successfully launched an asymmetric launch space shuttle that then burned up on reentry. Thankfully with no one aboard. So it's been an exciting night. It's been exciting for sure. Just gonna one more sanity check and make sure that we really don't have our Minmus probe, because that does confuse me quite a bit. I don't really know what would have happened to it. Except, like I said, that I did have it on a very, very low orbit. So, it's theoretically possible that it hit the terrain. Zero influence. Surface, no resource data, orbital survey first. I don't know how to do that. Huh. That might be a wiki thing, just to see how high the terrain gets, because I know I set it low enough to get below these points, so below 4.3 kilometers. And that might have just been too close. But alright, guys. That's all I've got in me. Hope everyone enjoyed the madness from today. And if you want to watch some more madness, or maybe me when I'm not doing as crazy, you can catch our previous streams over at youtube.com/dudeIcalledyouBro. And catch yourself up if you want to catch yourself up. Or, I don't know. Just thumbs down a bunch of videos because you feel like it. Whichever.